Good evening. Dark and wintry day, was it not? Honestly, I looked out the window this morning. I was like, I'm late for PubTalk, but it was only 9:30. I checked my phone, thank goodness. My dogs called the police because I hadn't given them dinner yet. It was 2 p.m. Like animal cruelty. Like, very, very dark. But I'm glad you all made it. You've got your warm sweaters on. We're all ready to have a fun time tonight. So with that, welcome to Central Oregon PubTalk. I'm so glad you all are here. We have several seats in the front, second row. Thank you, Matt. I'm Shannon Kelly. I'm thrilled to be with you tonight. It is November. Don't know how that happened, but here we are. Welcome to PubTalk, and how about a huge thanks to Worthy Brewing for hosting us again this month, and Hand in Hand, yeah. So much fun to be here, and Hand in Hand Productions for the multi-room stream. We're so fancy. I'm hosting tonight's PubTalk program thanks to MC sponsor OSU Cascades. Did you know that across the country, 78% of college students visit their career center only once or rarely? This new program at OSU Cascades flips the model. With Cascades Edge, students focus on their future every single term. Students start with coursework that helps them identify where they can make the biggest difference, whether that's designing a way for drones to fly farther or helping people heal from injuries. And then activities like internships, job shadowing, resume targeting, and networking build an advantage that will help them when they go for that first job and well into their career. It's an incredible program. Our generous PubTalk title sponsors are joining us tonight. Please welcome them. Up first is Kurt Barker with Best, and Krieger. Where are you, my friend?
Do I need to get up here? Hey, your local friendly neighborhood employment attorney with Best, and Krieger. Hi, glad you're here. Our own Sarah Monkton is here. I have to give a shout out. Sarah, would you mind? Raise your hand. Thank you. So that's the right response, because I feel really bad for people who have not met Sarah. So she's a super talented lawyer and just a really cool person. I didn't know you could do both, but yeah. So let's see, I need your help. I get to give away $100 in old mailbucks to one of you tonight. I better set the beer down. To win, let's do the email thing, no shaming. Let's do the email me the answer to my question, okay? First answer that's right wins. We're gonna make it really hard tonight. Are you ready? In honor of the badass robotics team, name the Summit High mascot. You can do this, PubTalk. You can do this. No, you probably can't. I don't know. Yeah, why not? Let's see. I should probably say something lawyerly while the answers come in. Don't shout it out. Email the answer. I should probably say something lawyerly. Paid leave Oregon, it's here. Yeah, I know. Where was it when I had a kid? 12 weeks of paid time? I know. Just a tip for you all. For any business that employs a single person in Oregon, big mistake not to have a written policy now. There's a lot to confirm how it aligns with your other paid and other leave programs. We're seeing lots of mistakes in self-help drafts, so don't be shy if we can help with that. Now, before I get off the stage, I'm looking at the answer here. Before I shout out the winner, huge thanks to Edco. It's been an incredible 2023 for PubTalk. Natalie Hummel, are you out there? Natalie? How did you know? Congrats. Thank you, Edco. We love PubTalk, and please, looking forward to 24.
Thank you. Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here. I agree, R.E. Sarah. Hey, girl. Up next is Emma. Oh, excuse me. Actually, up next is Jordan from B-Lock Systems. Jordan, how you doing? And it's a small stage, so I'm going to give you all the space.
Hey, my name is Jordan. Is this on? Oh, yeah, there we go. My name is Jordan Smith with VLOC Systems. We do managed IT services here in Bend, Oregon. So if you're a company looking for help with your IT strategy, growing, scaling, security, all those wonderful things, look me up, give me a call. One thing everyone should be doing as an educational tip, the biggest threat as far as cybersecurity goes is succumbing to phishing email scams and clicking links in your emails. So if you are not doing that, security awareness training and phishing simulations, there's a company out there called KnowBe4 that they'll do it for you. We can help you with that as well. It's really important. So it's really fun too, because you set up all these little like fake emails from different things, and you send them to your employees, and you see who clicks on the link. And then as you're like, I got you. Don't do that. Here's a video to learn how not to do that next time. So that's one of the things we help with all of our clients. I'm expecting big things from this. Is this a robot? Oh, yeah. Is it going to do some stuff? Sweet. I'm really excited because anyway, good to see you all. Thanks. Huge thanks to PubTalk. Can you guys believe last time we were here, we were like outside? Was that 60 days ago or something? Anyway, it's cold now. All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jordan. Were you guys getting nervous when he was splashing his wine glass near your robot? I was like, yikes. All right, up next, Emma from Roselle Wealth Management. Emma, how you doing, my friend?
To be honest, is it on? It is on. I am always a little nervous following Jordan and Kurt because they're both so cool and funny. So I don't know what I'm supposed to say after them. But my name is Emma James. I'm a financial advisor with Roselle Wealth Management, and we're honored to be a title sponsor this year. We've been in Bend for over 25 years now, and we are passionate about helping people live the life they've always imagined in retirement. So that said, with a show of hands, how many of you here are planning to retire in the next 5 years? I want to find you so I can come find you later. From that group, how many of you is 2 years away from now? Awesome, a handful. So for those of you who raised your hand, how many of you know the exact dollar amount that you are going to need to have saved so that by the time you retire, not only will your money last as long as you do, but help you live the retirement of your dreams? Your financial advisor is doing a great job. If you don't know the answer to that question, we would love to help you find out. We offer a complimentary service to our community called a risk audit. I promise it's a lot less scary than it sounds. It's where we review the 8 risks in retirement and give you a few tools to how to navigate those. If that is like your jam right now, I happen to have a QR code right over here. It'll take you right to a questionnaire. You can connect with our team, and we'd love to connect with you and have a conversation. And there's a few books circulating in the back. Our founder, David Roselle, wrote a guide on financial planning that is very entertaining. You got to check out the travel stories. And thanks for listening.
Great job, Emma. Plenty cool, although now I am depressed thinking about my retirement or lack thereof. I'll be up here till I'm 104. So anyhow, next up, Miley Mead from Providence Health Plan. Get on up here, my friend.
Thank you. Nice to see everybody again. It was 60 days ago when it was hot and I was sweating outside and there was a lot of you, so it was very nerve-wracking. But something about these kids, I want to just say, I had always hoped that my daughters would have been you, but they are not. They're not going to be achievers like you are. So they all decided to go into insurance, so there you have it. Anyway, I would just say congratulations to the achievements that you've made. We love the Bend community. It's so important to support your endeavors. And I'm excited for you guys to tell us all about it and see what you've created. I want to say thank you to everyone at EDCO and who comes that we're able to support PubTalk. Just in general, that without you being here, we wouldn't be supporting anything. There's so much to gain, and one of the things that I have focused on this last year, being the first time at PubTalk, is just to meet 5 people. And I know that's very daunting and it's kind of uncomfortable, but I found it to be much easier with this crowd because you're all here for the same things, which is to grow your community, invest in each other, help each other out, connect the dots, be partners in business. And so we're just so proud to be a part of it and making sure that it continues for the long term. So thank you very much. Have a great time.
So well said. So well said, Miley. I couldn't agree more. This is such a special community. Thanks for putting words to it. All right, so all of our Pub Talks make this event a reality. We're so grateful for all of you. Thanks for being here. And all of you are very cool. I just want to say all of you are very cool, okay? Not just Jordan. All right, now let's introduce John Stark, CEO of EDCO for our Director's Minute. John Stark, what do you got for us?
What's up, PubTalk Nation? Yeah, buddy. Glad to be up here again. You know, I'm in your boat too. This thing's going to need to hopefully find some royalty or something for us. That we need to invest in this to create some retirement, because I'm in your boat too. I'll be up here at 105, so I might stick around a little while longer. Glad to be here in front of you tonight. This is the final Pub Talk of 2023. Super excited to be before you tonight. Again, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our members for all being here tonight, all of you for our November Pub Talk. A little cold out there. We're in here warm with some beverages. Love to have you all here. Also want to just mention, had a huge event with the inaugural Central Oregon or High Desert Innovation Week, which was a culmination of a lot of different activities, sort of encored by the Bend Venture Conference. But I wanted to thank several partners that helped make that possible. Central Oregon Innovation Network, BOW, Bend Outdoor Works, Bend JS, Cultivate Bend with Built Oregon, and Visit Bend for all coming together to help make that programming really a success. And we look forward to doing that again in the future. This marks the 20th year of Pub Talk. It was the 20th year of the Bend Venture Conference, which we're super excited about, all aimed at elevating opportunities for local entrepreneurs to connect with mentors, funders, and gain market traction. Since 2003, the Bend Venture Conference has awarded more than $14 million to nearly 60 companies. And the Pub Talk stage has had companies, for instance, Axiology, Broken Top Browns, Crowd Street, Dutchie, Deschutes Brewery, Hum Kombucha, Hydro Flask, Manzama, Roughwear, and Snowplanks, to name a few. Many of those companies have grown to the national stage and even international stage with their products. So what a great thing for everybody to be here and see that stuff happen in motion over the years. Brian Vieira, who's in the audience tonight, as you know, he's back with us. We're super excited. His portfolio today is about 81 companies that he's working with. And so we'll see some of those companies on the Pub Talk stage. We get to see them grow into some of the companies that I mentioned as well. So stay tuned. We hope you continue to join us here. Thank you to the EDCO team as well. And as we kind of cheers out the end of 2023 for the Pub Talk season, we'll be back with you January 25th for our next Pub Talk, and then mark your calendars for February 8th at the River House for our annual luncheon. You'll likely see some marketing go out on that related to the content of that event sometime in the next few weeks. And then lastly, with some of that communication, there'll also be a local holiday guide by some of our Central Oregon entrepreneurs. So if you want to buy local products that are part of the sort of the EDCO momentum around entrepreneurship, take a look for that. And then lastly, watch the news through the weekend. This is my last little hurrah. You might hear something coming down the pipe for the Redmond Airport that we've been talking about a little bit over the years here at Pub Talk. So they have a new announcement coming out, maybe as early as tomorrow, but for sure by early next week, we have some exciting news to share. It'll come out of the probably the Redmond Airport and maybe an airline or two. So super excited about that. Watch the news through the weekend. Thanks.
Wow, wow, wow. Way to tease a big announcement, John Stark. That was a great update. A great update. Moving on to tonight's pitches and presentations, sponsored by COCC. COCC Foundation Scholarships Change Lives. Since 1995, the COCC Foundation has awarded scholarships that enable students to attend Central Oregon Community College, learn new skills, earn technical certificates, complete 2-year associate degrees, and be prepared to complete their undergraduate studies at a college or university. This year, the COCC Foundation will offer more than $2 million in scholarships. Visit cocc.edu/give to learn how you can change the lives of local students and the community that we share. That's cocc.edu/give, and thank you to all the donors who support the COCC Foundation. It's just incredible. And TDS, a proud supporter of EDCO and PubTalk events and values being a part of the Central Oregon business community. TDS offers high-speed internet, phone, and TV, integrating all your favorite streaming video services for both home and business. Our fiber optic network continues to expand through new business construction projects to keep up with our rapidly growing community and its technology demands. Please go to hellotds.com for further details. So we are thrilled to invite to the PubTalk stage the Summit High School robotics team, Chaos Theory. Chaos Theory is part of the Pacific Northwest District and has competed with teams from around the world. In 2017, 2018, and 2019, they qualified for the first World Championship in Houston, Texas, which was an amazing experience for the team. We are so pleased to welcome you all to the stage. Please put your hands together for the Summit Robotics team.
Bare Metal comes in, third one of the cycle, and they'd like to potentially code purple, gets out of the way, then is just kind of along for the ride. But anyway, that's getting scored. Two coming in here from Panther Robotics, tentatively ranked your number one team so far here at Bonnie Lake.
High Desert Droids moving once again. Two red robots on the charge station and down.
This is our robot, Apophis. This is last year's robot. Each year, we build a brand new robot from scratch. As you could see in the video, this competition was placing these cones, about 1 foot tall traffic cones, and beach ball-esque cubes on 3 different levels of platforms. Each platform gave us more points than the last, and this is how we accomplished it. One of my favorite quotes about the... Oh, sorry. One of my favorite parts about the program is that it's one challenge with thousands of solutions, and this was ours. Now I gotta hop off the stage before I get whacked.
Hello, my name is Emily, and we are Chaos Theory. We're a local robotics team that aims to teach students STEM skills and teamwork by creating robots that compete with and against each other. Now, who here has heard of BattleBots? Nice. If BattleBots is robot boxing, then we do robot basketball. Each year, we compete in a new 3x3 unique challenge to score points, and we do this by building robots from the ground up in a mere 8 weeks. By only given a list of regulations and how to score. We design, model, fabricate, and program the robot in these 8 weeks, all while managing our team. Now, here's Thielsen to talk about what FIRST Robotics is.
Thank you. In 1997, Dean Kamen and Woody Flowers sought to make a program that made learning about science and technology enjoyable for students. This program was FIRST Robotics. What we do is we apply the subjects we learn about in schools and we expand on them. And on top of that, we learn how to work together in a student-led team. Topics like physics are used in the design software. We use logical thinking and programming to code the robot. We have to use public speaking and persuasive writing to convince judges to give us critical awards and to spread information about the team. This all comes together in 8 weeks in a team led fully by students, about 20 of us total, 5 of which are here today. And that teaches students how to set strict deadlines for themselves, how to meet important goals, manage their own time, and figure out what they're going to do to fill the roles needed in the team. This gets students ready for the workforce in ways that are absolutely critical to be a leader in any realm of endeavor. That's what's so beautiful about this program. Now here's Aiden to talk about the impact of FIRST.
Thank you, Tielson. With technology being an ever-increasing part in our daily lives, having students in STEM programs such as FIRST is ever important. FIRST is a huge contributor to the technological workforce, and everything we do and teach promotes that. We have, just from our team alone, we have students at Boeing, Microsoft, SpaceX, and Outback Manufacturing here in Bend. Another way that FIRST Robotics and Summit High School contributes to the leading edge of the technological workforce is with over $65 million in higher education scholarships every single year. These scholarships promote FIRST members to come to the forefront of technology and push the world into the future. Here's Alex to talk about our achievements.
Since our team's founding in 2013, we have completed 10 seasons and won 27 awards, which include the Quality, Industrial Design and Creative Design Awards, Excellence in Engineering and Imagery Awards. We've also gone to 3 World Championships, which places us in the top 10% of teams. Now here's Kevin to talk about how you can help us.
We need your support in the forms of mentors and sponsorships. We fundraise our entire annual budget. Much of this comes from business sponsorships. You can help fund the future workforce, and your logo gets put on our shirts, the banners, and the robot itself. Another thing that can't be overlooked is smaller donations. These add up very quickly and create another big part of our annual budget. Another big thing that is just as important as any cash donation is mentors. These are the people that help us learn and grow as students. So if you're at all interested in contributing and helping us, please let us know. Thank you.
Okay, so who's going to be my Q&A person? You guys want to do some Q&A? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so you said small donations are helpful. Do you guys have the ability to take like monthly membership donations? Like people can sign up and do like $10 a month automatically?
That is a fascinating idea. We haven't personally explored that yet. However, we do have PayPal, and we also have sponsorship links. We take checks, cash, $1 coins, anything you have. Spare parts, we'll take them.
I'm shocked you know what a $1 coin is. That's amazing. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. Okay, how about questions from the audience? Yes, right here. Are you a nonprofit,
Yes.
and what's the name of it?
We have what the Summit Robotics Booster Club, which is the nonprofit that does the financial aspect of our team, or handles the financial aspect of our team. So it's the Summit Robotics Booster Club, and that's a 501c nonprofit organization. All donations are fully tax deductible.
Very good. Okay, yes, how about right here?
8 weeks is super tight. How do you manage the lead time for parts?
8 weeks is super tight. How do you manage the lead time for parts within that time frame?
The simplest answer, and the easiest thing that it is for us, is to make them ourselves. We made these panels on a CNC machine at someone's house. We cut these on whoopsies.
Oh boy.
My bad.
It did not like that.
It doesn't like being touched.
It doesn't like that.
We made that whole front mechanism on a CNC that Kevin Walder here, could you stand up real quick, built himself with the skills he learned. So the easiest way to get these parts done on time is to do it ourselves.
Ah, that's so cool. Okay, how about another question? I think I saw another hand. Yes,
Yeah.
how about in the back? How do I give you money?
You'll notice on the aisle row seats, there's a sponsor packet. We also have some available in the back. Come find any one of us in one of these shirts. We're happy to direct you. We'll take anything we can get because it all is extremely helpful.
This is so awesome. You guys, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, so support these guys. Give them your money. Give them your $1 coins. It was awesome. I hope you didn't get burned when that thing got mad at you. Okay. Yeah, support these guys. I did a sketch comedy show called Chaos Theory in my 20s. This was way better. And that's just that this was Much better. So thank you, because now that has been wiped clean for me. Okay. Tonight's next company pitch is sponsored by Umpqua Bank. Umpqua Bank is a proud sponsor of the EDCO PubTalk series. At Umpqua Bank, our local bankers proudly serve our community by providing the expertise to help build and maintain meaningful relationships. Umpqua Bank, together for better. Tonight, we get to hear from Dust Moto. Dust Moto builds affordable performance electric vehicles that maximize the connection between riders, machine, and environment. Dust believes with the right ingredients, more people can connect with the sport than ever before, enabling riders to break free from the shackles of attention economy, push their personal limits, build deeper connections to the people and world around them, and ultimately lead a life worth living. Please welcome Colin Godby, Dust Moto's founder and CEO. Come on up, Colin.
Thank you.
You probably want to put it on the floor.
Yeah, there we go. I'm pretty short. I want to thank Brian for having me from EDCO. I think part of this might be a little bit of him feeling bad at my really botched pitch for the BVC, as anyone that attended did not see me there. I'm excited to talk to you about Dust. We're pretty early, and that little spiel was taken from our launch website, which you probably recognized was a little bit of a fever dream, written kind of in the middle of the night to get something on the website. But dirt bikes are awesome, and hopefully this is enjoyable. My name's Colin Godby. I've spent a life outdoors testing the limits of myself and the gear that I use. I started as a mechanical engineer. I didn't have the luxury or the opportunity to compete in FIRST Robotics. I would have loved that, and so I've struggled my entire life to learn the hard lessons that you guys are learning at a young age, which is awesome. I've navigated my career choosing the most interesting consumer hardware problems I could find, coupled with the most interesting outdoor towns to live in. So instead of moving to the Bay Area, I've lived in Southern California, Park City, Boulder, Seattle, and now Bend, working on fun, interesting problems. Companies like Skull Candy, Sphero, Glowforge, Walt Disney Imagineering, and Upco previous to Dust. I've done 4 tours of duty at startups. I've gotten exposure to management, manufacturing, startup capital, hypergrowth, as well as going through a public listing. I've gone from building other people's products, their teams, their strategies, and now finally building something for myself, which is Dust Moto. It's a performance electric dirt bike for the core rider. Now, I'm gonna go on a leap and say that I think everybody would like to ride a dirt bike if they could. If you haven't, it's awesome. If you have, you know why you do it. It's one of the few things that gets you to achieve peak flow state almost immediately. It's like surfing or riding the best POW day. People do it to enjoy the outdoors, to connect with their friends, and for an exhilarating experience. It really is one of the few things that allows for a complete renewal of the mind, which I think is extremely important in today's day and age that's filled with stress and complexity. Moto is unique in its complete freedom and intensity of the visceral experience. Even things like mountain biking or hiking or paddleboarding, while awesome, don't quite get to that same level of experience that riding moto does. And further, it has a timeless sex appeal and cultural relevance that expands beyond the sport itself. I think a lot of people, when they think of Steve McQueen, probably picture him sitting in the back of a pickup truck after racing Lake Elsinore, probably smoking some Spirit cigarettes. But power sports can be unapproachable. Dirt bikes have a really steep learning curve, and stores can be intimidating. Existing riders are losing access to local riding, and they struggle to ride often because they're time poor. It's a sport that requires a lot of time investment for maintenance, getting out to riding, as well as managing your gear. The traditional moto industry is therefore suffering low growth rates compared to snow, water, and other two-wheeled sports in the adjacent side of outdoor recreation. Electrification makes dirt bike easy by removing the clutch, noise, complexity, as well as aspects of maintenance. But traditional motorcycle incumbents have been slow to grasp the opportunity related to electrification, and right now only 2% of the market is electrified, compared with 10% of the automotive market and 20% of mountain biking. There's currently no US dirt bike brand to serve the cultural epicenter for the sport, which is completely crazy considering that 55% of the global market for dirt bikes is here in the US. Now, what's the opportunity or the solution to this? Well, there's a company called Suron. It's a Chinese company, and they sell hundreds of thousands of entry-level, value-oriented electric motorcycles each year already. They're already being copied by more Chinese companies, which tells you something about the rate of adoption. But right now, there's no middle market premium American brand for this huge install base. And there's no brand that really addresses existing dirt bike riders with the core experience that they're looking for. At the upper end of the spectrum, there's a company called Stark that tries to hit the extreme level of performance and let's say, ultra premium end of the spectrum, but that's not the massive market. We are nailing the white space opportunity with a disruptive combination of lightweight, approachable size, and high performance. It's going to be built with premium components designed to last. This is category innovation. It's delivering an experience not possible with current ICE internal combustion engine technology. The flexible nature of the design brings the joy of riding to new riders while extending the fun and availability of riding opportunities for the existing core rider. In the same way you might have a POW board for the best powder days in addition to the other boards for the rest of the mountain, or gravel bike to go out and explore while you also own a mountain bike or road bike, we're building a Quiver edition. This is a bike for people that own motorcycles to add to their garage and not replace their current gas experiences. And this is important because I believe that at a fundamental level, the technology is not quite there yet for electric motorcycles to completely replace gas bikes. This has been one of the challenges so far with people trying to enter the market up to this point. In the same way that you might pick one of those, POW boards for the best days, thinking about the fun that you're going to have, we think that the bike that we're building is going to be the bike that's chosen 90% of the time because of how fun it is. Equally important, we're working to build an iconic American brand to go with an amazing product. This is important, as I mentioned, there is no current US OEM making products for the US market, but also because there's an opportunity to extend the brand into cultural relevance beyond the brand. We live on the West Coast where brands like Vans, Troy Lee Designs, and other companies that have been in sort of action sports and really have extended into the space beyond just the sport itself have had that relevance and taken advantage of the business growth. For someone like us, where there is going to be a crowded market in the foreseeable future, having a strong brand is going to be key. Over the next 10 years, we believe that the electrified dirt bike market is going to expand 20x because of the low rate of adoption thus far. In context of the $9 billion total market in the US for dirt bikes, we think that it will go from 2% to a number closer to 40%, or roughly $4 billion within that 10 years. So why is now a unique opportunity to do this business? Well, with the explosion of the e-mobility products like Suron I mentioned before, Super 73, pedal electric mountain bikes, and the relative openness to new entrants into the market that we've seen unique to the last couple of years, we've never seen a market that's more ready to take on an experience with electric than now. There's also been a significant investment in EV technologies over the past 5 to 10 years. While the EV technology market has seen a little bit of a desert, let's say, in funding over the last couple years, some of the companies have struggled. Climate technology actually has not. And so while this is an EV technology, we also can address some of the challenges surrounding recreating outdoors with technology that can be pretty polluting. At the end of the day also, as we've seen with COVID, there's an extreme interest in investing in recreation activities that can increase the mental health benefits of disconnecting outdoors. So you combine those things, and we think now is the time to actually jump in after this. I guess the final piece of why now is probably related to the American brand as well. It's just baffling that there is no American brand addressing this market. So how are we bringing this brand to market? We're focused on bringing business to life with the extreme build in public mentality that embraces crowdfunding and authentic connection with our customers. This means direct-to-consumer is our primary focus, both for margin management, but also because of the connection it allows with our customers. However, we will have strategic retail partners when we actually sell this because of the importance of service as well as test ride opportunities for a product of this kind. We're connecting at the grassroots level by intending on intending to attend local events and races, and integrating within our kind of board of advisors people that are deeply connected in the sport. Well, I didn't grow up with moto. I did grow up in Murrieta, California, which is one of the epicenters for the sport. My mom didn't let me ride motorcycles. I do see the importance of someone coming from outside of the sport later in life to be connected with people that have lived the sport their entire life. We don't want to be seen as outsiders. It's important that we get this right. Finally, athletes and ambassadors and content creation is kind of the primary means that we're going to reach people. We think that there's extremely exciting and compelling stories to tell related to riding dirt bikes, and we don't need to do much of a hard sell if we just show people having the best time on them. So what have we done so far? We founded the company in May of this year. We wanted to move quickly and fail early, so we built and launched our own unique take on crowdfunding called Founders 50. Essentially a 50-person premium subscription for 20 months, which gives the backers half off the bike, but more importantly, a behind-the-scenes look at how we're building the company and the brand. On August 8th, after only 2.5 months of being a company, we launched the Founders 50 program with basically an image like this and not much more, and we filled those 50 slots in 24 hours. It's essentially a world's first program in that we have monthly meetings for these backers, sharing design progress, gathering feedback, and utilizing them to help us achieve next steps. And it really helped us prove product market fit super early. On the back of that, which ultimately will result in $250,000 of early funding, we were able to raise $350,000 in additional angel funding in the weeks that followed. The really amazing part about the Founders 50 program is that these are really high-value evangelists. They're early adopters that are excited by what we're building. A lot of the people that join that group are other founders, CEOs, or well-connected individuals that have already gone to help us make connections in the industry up to this point. We fully expect that this first group of 50 people will be the seed that lets us connect with 10x more people when we actually launch later on. So currently we're using that funding to jam on building our prototypes and launching the next phase of awareness. The prototypes that we're building now are our alpha bikes, first 2 bikes that are going to demonstrate the experience and prove the performance that we believe will hit. We'll be able to get riders on those bikes and start creating content, sharing that more broadly in the lead up to having a crowdfund campaign to actually sell 10 times the number of bikes that we already have allocated with the Founders 50 crowd. So how did we do it? Well, we're a team of experienced designers and operators. We've delivered great experiences across a variety of industries from consumer products, tech, and mobility already. We have 50 combined years of direct experience that will apply to building Dust. My other co-founders are not here with me now, but Jarrett and I live here in Bend, and we have a shop space on the north side of town, and our third founder is actually based in the European market, which is strategic for us once we decide to expand into that marketplace. I think most importantly, we're all focused on the end consumer. We understand as users as well as designers what people need, and we're focused on solving real issues for those people. And finally, we all went through a serious tour of duty at UBCO together, which was a New Zealand bike brand making 2-wheel electric utility bikes that I had set up an office on the northwest side of town for. Unfortunately, that came to an end, but the experience that we went through in an extremely tough capital market really galvanized us and taught us a lot of lessons. So the ask now is, we're going to continue raising pre-seed funding in the lead up to that larger crowdfund event. We surprised everyone with how F50 went. I think we've all, including ourselves, the amount of attention and excitement around what we're building is high. And so we're going to try to do it again here around April of next year and try to get 500 more people to buy these bikes. So please reach out if you're interested in joining the journey, ask questions, and just a fan of dirt biking in general. We're happy to make those connections.
Awesome. Great. Cool, very cool. It will surprise no one. I've never been on a dirt bike, but I do have a question for you. Is it quiet?
Yes, there's still chain noise, but what I think a lot of people get when they ride dirt bikes that are electric is you can actually talk to each other. You can hear nature around you. You actually hear the tire gripping in the dirt. The highest performance dirt bikes still have a whine, so they're not completely silent. But and I think actually this is kind of opens a little bit of a tangent conversation around what a lot of people love about dirt bikes in general, the smell and the sound of dirt
Some
bikes.
people
as they
like
are
that,
today. Yeah.
Colin. Yeah.
But not everyone. But one of the big benefits of quiet bikes is that people can start building backyard tracks again.
Ah, cool. Yeah. Okay. Are these street legal? Is that a thing people say still?
Our first bikes will not be, but we're developing the control system so that they'll be easily plug and play to add lights. It's a pretty high barrier to go through homologation and compliance certification, especially for an early company. It's a couple $100,000 to run through that process.
Sure.
So we're going to focus on off-road bikes only to start, and then move into street legal.
So cool. I bet they're going to look so cool, and I think you guys are probably going to get some jobs working at this company. Okay.
Yes,
do I
engineers.
have any questions from? Yes. How fast do they go?
Our bikes are going to go about 60 miles an hour. It's interesting with electric dirt bikes, they typically don't have gearboxes. So you just roll on the throttle and you don't shift gears. What that means is extremely high levels of torque up until sort of the later parts of the top speed. Typical dirt bikes, you can go through the gears like a car and they keep pulling at higher speeds. But for the kind of experience we're trying to deliver, it's not as important.
Yes. Yes.
You mentioned the benefits for like climate, and I'm just curious, are there any federal tax incentives that could act as
You mentioned benefits for climate. Are there any federal tax credits available for your manufacturing operation?
It's a really good question. We have some friends in the industry, another company called Rivid based out of California. They received a $20 million operating grant to establish manufacturing. That's actually from the state of California. Edco, I'm looking at you if you can help me out with some of the Oregon dynamics. But there are programs available. It's a little bit tougher for companies that are smaller and the focus that we have. A lot of the focus, and even including for the consumer side of incentives, is on bicycles or cars and not much in between. And so even at Edco, we're working on trying to find a way to lobby and help kind of find a way for people that choose to either commute or recreate on two wheels to get access to some of those incentives.
So cool. Okay, one more question. Yes. How far on the charge? Like how many miles can it go on before you have to charge it again?
This is the hardest question related to electric, and one of the reasons why we don't think electric bikes are ready to fully replace gas bikes yet. So a lot of people like to get out for big days in the hills or go and camp and maybe take kind of like a backpacking style approach. Electric bikes aren't for that yet. So we're positioning, this kind of unique positioning I mentioned is a little bit smaller size bike that's a little bit more oriented for play riding. So backyard tracks, local single track, maybe going and finding new zones kind of in the BLM, but not really focused on big days on the bike. And the reason why we say this gives you the opportunity to ride more is it's a lower kind of barrier of entry to go ride. Think kind of after work rides with your friends, load up for an hour or two and go ride instead of packing everything up for a big mission. And that's why we also say these bikes will go, sorry, to answer your actual question. If these bikes will go between 30 and 40 miles, then they're great for certain types of use, but they're not good for all of the big rides that some people might want to do.
Okay, well this is very cool, and I'm sure it's going to be like rapidly evolving, so I hope you'll come back and check in with us again and let us know how it's going. So cool. Thanks for being here, Colin.
Totally, thank you.
I did a sketch comedy show called Dust Moto in my 20s. This was much better. Now, on to our keynote presentation sponsored by Sensiba San Filippo, your friendly local first full-service accounting and business advisory firm. Sensiba LLP has great news for tax-saving opportunities. The Oregon Pass-Through Entity Tax Election, PTE, is officially renewed for the 2024 and 2025 filing years. This means that business owners of eligible entities can continue to choose the PTE option, allowing them to pay their Oregon tax liability at the entity level and receive a federal tax deduction. We encourage businesses to explore this option and take full advantage of this extended benefit. So reach out to your accountant or a Sensiba team member to help you get started at www.sensiba.com. www.sensiba.com, and BBSI. BBSI has been helping Central Oregon businesses of all sizes prosper by serving as an advocate, resource, and guide for business owners and entrepreneurs. BBSI delivers expertise in business strategy, HR, risk, payroll, and recruiting that has helped our clients overcome challenges, reduce costs, and grow revenue. BBSI, people, process, and prosperity for your business. Now, on to our keynote speaker, Patrick Cook, founder and CEO of Wayfinder. Wayfinder was born out of Patrick's experience teaching high school students at a public school in Oakland, California. During his time there, Patrick tried to find a curriculum that would help his students develop a sense of purpose and prepare them to lead meaningful lives. Unable to find a curriculum that landed with his students, he began developing his own, and he's here to tell us more about it. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you. If anyone in the back wants to come grab a seat, you're welcome to. If not, I'm going to introduce myself, my company, and I'm going to talk a little bit about venture funding, why you probably shouldn't take it unless you're a masochist, tell you some stories about it, and then kind of lay out a little bit. Oh, that was a nice one. No big deal. That was quiet. And then just lay out a little bit of what it's actually like to take venture funding. So I'll start with introducing myself. My name is Patrick. I lived in Bend for about 5 years. I grew up in Maryland, and I've basically been an entrepreneur, I think, since I was in 4th grade. I started my first company. It was a lawn mowing and gutter cleaning service. I got bright orange paper from Kinko's, and I put Pat's lawn mowing. I lived in like an old school 1950s neighborhood, and I put them in every single mailbox. And I got my first clients, and I started mowing lawns. And like I was known as the kid that would push the lawnmower all over the neighborhood because my parents wouldn't drive me. And you can't drive when you're in 4th grade. So I've always been interested in being an entrepreneur, and I would say, and I've also been an educator my whole life. So that's kind of the intersection of where my career lies. So in my 20s, I taught high school. I led wilderness trips. I worked on a lot of different social entrepreneurship projects. Wayfinder is the first business I've ever worked at, and I never imagined that I would run a business, but I've done a lot of entrepreneurial ventures before. So in terms of how Wayfinder works, we're a K-12 social emotional learning and future-ready skills company. So it's good timing. I think you all use it at Summit a little bit. Yeah, okay, cool. If you like it, say yes, and if you don't answer the question. Do you like it? Oh, you do? Awesome, yeah, okay. So we have some very pleased customers up here. And so really the idea of the company is that I was a high school educator, and my whole thing, and I think a lot of people get into entrepreneurship because they're trying to create a sense of meaning and a sense of purpose, and that often comes with being an entrepreneur in a small business, in a big business. And my whole life has been, how do you help young people develop a sense of meaning and purpose? So I think this robotics club's a great example. I would bet that most of you all feel like your time in robotics is more meaningful than your average time spent in school. You learn more from your peers, it feels more real world, and then at the end, instead of taking some stupid test that no one's ever gonna read, you go to a competition where it like feels like it's real, right? So most things that I've done with teenagers are, can you put them in a situation where they feel like they're doing something that's purposeful and meaningful? And shockingly, I bet you that robotics club is 100 times more like having a job than going to school. Sometimes you guys don't like each other, so you have to figure it out. Sometimes you have actual deadlines. You have to work with a certain limited amount of resources. You have to travel together. So what I've tried to do as an educator is foster experiences that do that for young people. And so in experiential education, it's not that difficult, but in a classroom, it can be challenging. So long story short is we created a curriculum that is basically a pathway for how you develop projects and meaningful activities that students can do. So when they leave high school, they feel like they know what they care about, they know why, and they know what they might want to do with their life. It doesn't mean they know what they want to do with their life, but they have a path to figuring that out. So that was the idea of starting this company. So if you think right before I started it, I think I'm close to 40. I don't really keep track. But I started it when I was close to 30. And I'd run 2 nonprofits. I taught at public school. I'd worked on political campaigns. And I'd worked as an international human rights advocate for 5 years. So my experience with business, other than like my vaunted lawn mowing career, was quite short. And so I went in, I got a fellowship to the Stanford D School. I was a teacher in Oakland, and I got a 2-year fellowship. And the idea was, can you develop a curriculum that would help high school students develop a sense of purpose? So I spent 2 years there prototyping it and developing it. And at the end, we had a product, and I was like, cool, what's a product? I don't know what a product is. But we had something we could sell. So we spent 2 years there. And to give you a sense of like, I mean, if you all have been entrepreneurs, you know this, but if you haven't, the amount of stuff you figure out on the fly. One night, we're training our first round of teachers. There's 100 teachers in the room, about this big. We do a 3-day training. Everyone loves the curriculum. They're coming, and then the night before they leave, someone was like, well, they need to buy it. And I was like, that's a great point. And they were like, how much should they buy it for? And I was like, I have no idea. So me and 8 of our staff members who are like teachers sat there and were like, how much would you buy it for? And then so we all wrote down on a sticky note the number. Some people put 60, some people put 30, some people put 45. And then but we didn't reveal it. And then we all revealed it at the same time. The median number was 50, so I was like, all right, let's have the number be 50. That's a good number. So I get up there tomorrow, the next day, and we're like, all right, curriculum's $50 a kid, you should buy it, who's in? And we sold $200,000 worth that day. And then that led to 25 schools, 2,500 students, and that was our first class of students in 2017. So we currently serve 600,000 students, 1,200 schools, every student in Ben LaPine School District for 3 years. We're doing about $7 million in revenue, and we serve about 1% of the K-12 market in the U.S. in terms of students in schools, and then we have 40 states and 43 countries. So that means that, thank you, yeah. So I'm entering my 8th year. This is our 7th school year. 2 years in R&D, and then we've entered, this is our 7th school year. We're just kicking off. So if you think about that, that's insane, right? So you double every year, but the thing about doubling is it keeps getting bigger and bigger. So you're like, 25 to 60, that's cool. 600 to 1,200, that's kind of big. So when I started it, from a business perspective, I didn't know what venture funding was. I mean, I did because I was around Silicon Valley, but I just thought people were just like A, B, C, D, and I was like, this is like the alphabet with money. You know, people are just like, I raised a Q round. I'm like, great. So I had no interest in venture funding. I didn't explore it. And I'd always been like a sales and product guy first. Like if you have something cool, people will want to buy it. So you should sell it first. So for the first few years of the company, we were basically a bootstrap company for the first 4 years. And like my kind of philosophy was like, if people don't buy it, why should I raise money? So we went from 200,000 to 400,000 to 800,000, and we were doubling in schools. The team was growing, it was working, and I was pretty committed to not raising venture money because I'd heard so many horror stories, particularly like I don't sell software. Like there's a lot of heart in what we do in education, and I didn't want a VC to come in and be like, oh, do you think you could teach us like without the kids? And I'm like, probably not. Probably kids need to do it. So I was very committed to bootstrapping. I got a bunch of pressure to do it, but I was like, I don't want to do that. And bootstrapping has anyone here bootstrapped a business? Yeah, it's like brutal, but it's in your own control. And it's kind of like a pay-as-you-go model. So that's what I was committed to. And then, I don't know if you guys heard, but this thing called COVID happened in 2020. And it kind of disrupted things a little bit. And in particular, it disrupted every industry, but it disrupted schools in particular. So I studied the history of American education in college. In World War II, American schools didn't shut down. In the flu of 1919, schools didn't shut down. There's been no major shutdown of American public schools since they started ever. It's the first time. So I did take out some small loans along the way from friends, basically like 8%, I'll pay you back. And I remember I was sitting with like this financial advisor dude, and he was like, well, the only way you could be screwed is if schools like shut down or something. And I was like, well, that's never happened. You know? So then school shut down. And if you guys remember, it was March, right? The school buying cycle is from March 15th basically to July 1st. That's when they buy. And that means we don't really get any money from October until March. Yeah, like I look like my cash flow looks like a bad V. You know what I'm saying? So I'm at the bottom right when it drops out, and then sales are supposed to happen, and schools just shut down. They don't buy anything. And no one's like, yeah, I'm gonna buy a supplemental curriculum right now. So that didn't happen. So basically, I mean, as many of you all, it was insane, right? I was living in my parent-in-law's basement to save money already. I worked on this with my wife. We'd already made like a ton of sacrifice, so then I didn't take a salary, my wife didn't take a salary. We kept as many people on as possible. We started to like kind of live out of my car, which if you've seen my car, I just brought my employees over. It's kind of shameful. It's 2002, only a few of the doors work. We're basically like living out of a car. We have like 3 weeks of runway at a time. We were then both foundation-backed and bootstrapped, and basically we just had to look at the resources every single day. And so at that point, I made a decision. I was like, cool, we're gonna go out of business if we don't try to raise venture funding. And so I think one of the 3 ways I would raise venture funding is like if it's the only thing you can absolutely do, then you should do it. Because basically I was just looking at it and I was like, this whole thing, and at that point we had, I don't know, 100,000 kids using it and a few hundred schools. And I was like, cool, those kids aren't gonna get to use it and they need it the most right now. So it's actually mostly about that. So if you ever wanna have fun, you should try to raise your first venture round for a curriculum company in COVID. It's awesome. So I didn't know anything about venture funding. And so, it's complicated, right? And there's all these like words and like liquidation preference. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? So I started getting all these podcasts, and I usually wake up at 3:30 normally in the last 10 years. Not normally, but when you run a startup, you do. So I'd wake up at 3:30, I'd put a podcast in, I'd walk around the hills for 3 hours to learn how venture capital worked. I did that for 90 days in a row, and then we started pitching. And then I was on sales, my co-founder was on raising, and we're basically got to the point on July 1st, which is normally when school budgets turn over, July 1st, and we had 3 days worth of money left. I had 12 staffers. All these schools were calling me being like, I love your curriculum, but I have to use next year's budget because this year's budget's frozen. And then from July 1st until August 1st, we made like $100,000 a week because school budgets got unlocked. We raised about $1 million in venture funding, and that's how we became a venture-backed business. So if it hadn't been for COVID, we wouldn't have been venture-backed, and we were on pace to do 1.5 million in sales that year and double again and spend 1.3. So one of the ways I would suggest raising venture money is if you're about to die in COVID and you want to keep it going, you should do it. But hopefully you all never have to experience that. But without COVID, I don't think I ever would have raised venture, except for one other example I'm going to give. So that's how we raised our first venture round. And I think if any of you are thinking about it, like I'd been pressured to do it a lot. And I think the thing you have to think about when you raise venture is you can never go back, ever. So I would go on a lot of walks and be like, someone else is going to own me until I decide. There's only 2 ways out of venture. You sell your company or you IPO. And in K-12 education, there's not a lot of IPOs. And the average exit from taking investment to an A is 11 years, and like a D is 15 years. So it's not like, oh yeah, I'll just like do it for 2 or 3 years, it'll be fun. It's not fun, first of all, and it's long. So you really have to think about, for 10 to 15 years, do I want these to be the most brutal, painful years of my life? And you might think I'm joking, but I'm not. I have 5 of my friends have raised venture funding. My brother-in-law has raised venture funding. I think like 15 people I'm incredibly close to have raised venture funding. And I've watched their journeys. And some of my friends, my best friend in high school he raised venture funding for his salad dressing company, and they're going to sell for $400 million. And I saw him at Christmas. They got 75% of the market. And I was like, would you ever do it again? And I can't, in public, explicitly say what he said, because it was kind of explicit, but let's just say he emphatically said no. So every single person that I know that's done it said it's the most brutal thing that they've ever opted into in their entire life. The only other people I know, I grew up in a military town, so some of my friends that are SEALs or Special Forces talk that way too, but that's kind of it. So I do think it's like this thing that's like, you should do it, it's cool, yay, and I'm like, you should really think about it. So I think if it's your only option, that's one way to do it. I think the other two ways that I would think about raising venture money is a lot of like young entrepreneurs come to me, and I think I think it's important to remember that venture capital came out of Silicon Valley to help build the first computer, right? So it came out of this idea that for you to even try what you want to do, you have to spend so much money to see if it might work that you have to raise money. So that makes sense to me, right? That is logical. Like, I want to build a rocket. And then if I build this rocket, somehow I'm going to make a bunch of money. Most people don't have enough money to just build a rocket. But venture capital makes you want to make like organic diapers or like a brewery or a lot of hard goods. So I think of it as a tool that's totally overused at this point. It's like, well, if you want to start, like I have some guy called me, he's making like a peanut butter and jelly company, and he's like, should I raise venture? I was like, you should probably put some peanut butter on some jelly and see if some kids want to buy it first, you know? So I think it's like this tool, and it's very sexy, but I think there are cases with hardware and technology where it's the only way to go. But I think there's a ton of products that just totally overuse it. And I think it's one of those things that's like very sexy, but the reality of it is not. It's like, I spent a lot of my 20s doing hard things, and it's hands down the hardest thing I've ever done. I usually go to bed at 11:30. I usually wake up at 3:30. Sometimes I go to bed at 1:30 and wake up at 3:30. For the first 3 summers, I didn't sleep the entire summer. Like our first shipment, and I didn't have AC. I was like sitting there in my boxers shipping like booklets, sending them to schools with the fan blowing on me at like 3:30 in the morning, like listening to Celine Dion, being like, what is happening with my life? You know? Like, who thinks this is cool? What's happening, you know? So I would just say, if you are thinking about doing it, be like incredibly careful. And the other thing about venture that is very crazy to me is that people are always like, oh, this is how much money I raised. Like, it's cool. Like, oh, I raised a $40 million A. And oh, I raised like a $9 billion Q. And I'm like, did you sell anything? Right? Or is your product cool? And the way I think about it is like, there's no NBA player that gets out of the game. It's like, yeah, I put up 44 shots that game. It was sick, huh? And they're like, how many did you make? He's like, 4. But I put up 44 shots. And so there's these people that go out and they raise tons of venture money and they brag about it like it's cool, and they don't happen. So only 1 out of 10 companies that gets funding succeeds, and only about 1 in 10 people that try and get funding get funding. So you basically have a 1% chance of success. Then you all probably know if you're in a venture portfolio, basically 1 out of 10 companies gets most of the bacon. 3 kind of play around, and then they're like, get rid of the other 6. So they like push you to fail, right? Whereas if you start a brewery, you start your own thing, you bootstrap, you're not getting that push. So, and once you're in, and then the crazy thing is, if you're an entrepreneur and you're like, I've doubled my business every single year for 8 years, well, they might have a bad portfolio and be like, well, that company needs to triple their business every year to make up for the failure of these other 7 companies. That's the math that they're doing in their brain. So I say all that to be pretty careful. I'll give 2 other examples of when it does make sense to take venture funding. The second is, I call it the if you're going to die and think about it question. So if you're on your deathbed and there's something you really, really, really wanted to do, and the only way to do it is take venture funding, and you didn't do it, and I'm serious, would you think about it? And I have friends that are like that. Like my best friend who I started Wayfinder with, he's always wanted to start a company. He's into like AI and climate change, and he's raised about $125 million, and his company uses machine learning to see where forest fires are happening for home insurance so that people can keep their homes insured in like heavily fired areas. So like his average employee is like $500,000, right? Between insurance and some smart person with a computer. So for him to do what he wanted to do, he had to raise venture funding. That was the only way. And I know him incredibly well. And if he had not done that, I know he would have thought about it his whole life. So I do think there's a part, if it's like totally aligned with your purpose and you're in an industry where you have to do that, and you would literally be on your deathbed and be like, it would have been bad for 10 years, but I really wish I went for it, then I do think you should do it. And I have friends like that. So I think that's the like other version. The third version, which I actually think is the coolest, is when you take it after you've bootstrapped for a while and you don't even need it. Like then you're like, it's like LeBron being like up against like a high school kid. He's like, oh, I'm all day, you know? Like I'm already cool, I'm just gonna get cooler. So I think Qualtrics is a really good example of this. I don't know if you all know the history of the company at all, but the dude now owns the Utah Jazz, and he basically bootstrapped for like 12 years. He started out of BYU, and they were like psychotic on sales. Like they all worked out of this guy's basement, and they were just like calling. And I think he didn't take money until almost a decade in. And they were profitable, they were making a ton of money. And then he was like, cool, and I'm gonna super juice my company with this venture round. I'm only gonna give up one board seat. And he exited, I think they exited like, don't quote me on this, but like $7 billion. And the two brothers and the dad still owned like 55% of the company. Which at a normal venture exit at that stage, you're in like 6% on a good day. So I do think I've seen companies do that where like they wait until they're kind of in the driver's seat anyway, and then they do it. But that's hard to get to in the first place. Number two, if you really have to do it because it's aligned with your purpose and it's in an industry that is important to you, that makes sense to me. And then the first one is like, my brother-in-law runs a company, and again, he was hit with something totally unexpected, some supply chain thing in China. And he was basically facing go out of business or raise venture like I did, and he chose the venture route to stay in business, and he's still in business, and he's pivoted 5 times pretty incredibly. So I do think that those are like 3 pretty legitimate chances to doing it. But the idea that it's like glamorous or cool, I would totally debunk, and if my wife was here, she would debunk them way more. But it's like the one word I would use for is it's brutal. And it lasts a decade, if not 15 years. And you have a way, like people are like, it's like getting married. And I'm like, no, it's not like getting married. Because getting married, you have a 50% chance of success. At a venture company, you have an under 10% chance of success. And it's not going to be as fun along the way. So I would just caution anyone that's thinking like that or aspirational. And I also want to say, like, I'm not in any way anti-entrepreneurship. I'm going to be an entrepreneur my whole life. Like, I love founding things. I love making things happen. Like, that's what I'm going to spend my whole life doing. But the idea that to build a business, you have to do it with venture capital or that makes it cooler, I think is like a misnomer. And I have also seen friends do it that looked back that were like, oh, like, this isn't that cool. I'm now locked into this thing. And the other thing at the end of the day is like, if you run your own cool bootstrap company and it works and you're profitable, you control your own destiny. You push the gas pedal, you push the brake. You want to go to the Czech Republic for a year and drink beer. Okay, pause, go, hire someone. At a venture company, you have to double or triple every year while you exist. There's no like off year. And if you have a bad year, you have to make up for it the next year. And so 2 years ago, we had a really challenging year. we only grew by 40% instead of closer to 90. And so the amount of pressure that builds is like, it's pretty hard to describe. And then the responsibility that I think you have as a small business owner, once you have a steady cash flow, is very different from the idea of like, I'm responsible for 20 to 100 humans, and if we don't hit these marks that are outlandish, a third of them won't have jobs. And if we don't hit like a normal mark, 50 won't have jobs. And they all have kids, and like it might be their fault, but who are they gonna be mad at? You, right? And so I just think like, if you're doing that, it's a lot of responsibility. It's not that cool. If you have to do it, God bless you. Otherwise, bootstrap, bootstrap, bootstrap. That's my message.
Thank you for this very honest talk. I appreciate your message so much. And I have a real talk question for you.
Yeah.
What happened to the lawn mowing business?
I didn't until I graduated from high school. I was also a lifeguard. Yeah.
Okay.
I was in my neighborhood a lot doing various mildly useful things.
I love it so much. Okay, I hope you guys are really appreciating your Wayfinder situation. You're like, it's a whole new level of appreciation for it. How about questions for Patrick from the audience? Yes, right here.
Patrick, a lot of times, especially in like tech, high growth companies, are told that when scale is the business model, you are basically either going to take venture or you're going to get crushed by the competition. So can you speak to that?
Okay, so the question is, in tech startups, oftentimes the message or the plan is to scale, and so they're often told like you have to take venture or you're going to get crushed by the competition. And what is your response to that?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of true for some things and a total myth for some other things. That's if you want to have $1 billion company, right? I think it's like what do you actually want to do and why? So if you want to beat Uber or Lyft, for example, you would have to raise like hundreds of billions of dollars of capital, right? But I think there are other businesses where you can carve out a niche where that's totally not true. You can run a business that's like a $15 million business with 1% of the market in a niche market and be totally fine. So I think there are examples where that's true, but that presumes a mindset of like global domination equals why you would start this business to begin with. Just to name that, right?
I wonder where global domination came from. That's not new. Hey, you in the back.
I was a similar shoes to you in 2020 as well. But did you consider just private investors as opposed to VC?
Did you consider private investors as opposed to just VC?
I totally considered it, but the idea that I raised for the first time in COVID made that really untenable. And so a lot of also the other thing I didn't mention is a lot of our investors are like impact investors, or I call them VCs with a heart. So it's not like I went to Sequoia and Excel and was like, hey, we sell paper to kids in schools. And they were like, yes, here's $100 million. So all of our investors did have to care about what we did. And so we have a lot of individual angel and investors that are mission-backed. But the thing is, even if you're a third pure venture, you're all pure venture in terms of how everything else lines up, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
How many rounds did you take before taking venture, and have the peer rounds been exited, or are they still in?
How many rounds did you take before taking venture, and have the pure rounds exited, or are they still in?
So far we did a $1.5 million seed, a $7 million A, a $3 million extension, and then we're calling it an A2 because it's really uncreative. Someone named it that. So we're closing on another $5 million like next week. So no one's exited from that. Does that answer your question?
There was another, yes.
Did
you have another?
I was just wondering if there's pressure from the VC on a timeline to get out.
Is there pressure from the VC on a timeline to get out?
The one thing about VCs is they generally think on a decade-long timeline. And so since I waited 5 years to take venture, it gives me a longer timeline. If I'd raised in 2015 when I started, I'd feel way more pressure. So it's kind of like starting running the marathon at mile 13. So that helped. Otherwise, yes, there would be.
Okay, and right here.
So clearly you guys have answered the question of why you do what you're going to do. And in that market, in today's market of difficulties in trying to find good people,
Yeah.
has the why helped you retain great people that believe in your mission?
Do you mean investors or employees?
Employees.
Oh.
So let me just repeat the question.
Yeah.
So you have a very strong why, and
Yeah.
he's wondering if this has helped you attract and retain good talent for your company.
3 of them are there, so you should ask them. But yeah, I would. I mean, we just had an offsite in Bend at Tethro 2 weeks ago with 50 members of our team, and no one works for our team because they couldn't find something to do. So I think we have a very A-class team for what we do. I think anyone that worked with us would say that. And yeah, 100%. I think people at work want a few things. They want a sense of meaning and purpose. They want to know that the company works well and has a mission and is accomplishing it. And they also want to work with kick-ass people that do their jobs. And then they want to get paid well. So if you can combine, those are the 4 things that I think about. And traditionally in education, unfortunately in this country, it's totally underfunded. So one of the cool things about us is that we can give K-12, former K-12 educators or do-gooders, I mean, half our team's social workers and educators, they're making twice as much money as they used to. And also, they're not dealing with some of the bureaucracies of traditional K-12. And I think we get about an average of 600 applications for jobs.
Wow.
And big positions, we get 1,200. So I would say that you have to live what you preach. So I do think that people at our company feel a sense of meaning and purpose. I mean, sometimes everyone has bad days, and no one likes emailing for any reason ever. But I do think that it carries through in the company. Does that answer your question?
If you ever need an MC with a flair for humor.
That's actually, we have I was hoping to spend $100,000 on that this year. Let's just add that to my budget.
That's so great.
Yeah. But we only need you 2 days a year.
That's even better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually.
Yeah. No, I was
you
thinking
speaking my language.
I was thinking $50K a day.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I don't need benefits. I mean, if you have them, I'll take them. But yes.
So why do people choose to buy you versus other software out there?
Why are
Any metrics you use to show your winning?
Why are people choosing to purchase Wayfinder over other softwares, and what metrics do you have to show this?
Because we're better. Because we're in a market. So social emotional learning is about 30 years old in school, and basically it comes from the idea that prior to that, school was memorize. This field arose. You should talk to kids about their future, about their feelings, about what they want to do, and why. So historically, it's been very research-backed. So I'm a person with a PhD. I'm kind of boring. I proved through adult research that this makes kids more empathetic, and then I came up with the curriculum. Does that make sense? So it's very downstream. And our approach is we would interview the 6 of you and say, what's most meaningful to you? How do you get there? What do you like about Robotics Club? Why couldn't we put that there? And so we go upstream. And so using the design process. So that's one way, is the relevancy. The second is if you logged onto our site, it would feel way more like Airbnb. And if you logged onto their sites, it would be like a bad 1990s movie /CD. Like they probably still work at Blockbuster. Like it's rough. So it's also the user interface. And then the third part is that implementing this curriculum is hard. And so Ben Lapine bought us for 3 years, and I think it's partly because of our team, because we help support them. And a lot of the products that are out there don't support them in the same way. Does that answer your question?
We didn't even really get to hear much about how it works if you're not familiar.
I didn't want to do that tonight. It's a whole other
No, I think you were wise to do what you did, but if people take a look at the website, they can learn more.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Any other questions for Patrick tonight? Yes, in the back.
What type of loan structure would you use for friends and family or non-venture?
Yeah.
What type of?
Well, I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, so that the people from home can hear us. Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
So what type of loan structure
Yeah, so when you're looking at doing friends and family, what type of loan structure do you recommend? What type of percentage points are you looking at? And what kind of like strategy do you use to implement all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So prior, I had about 200, so it was an LLC prior to raise venture, you have to become a C Corp. So before COVID, we were an LLC, and I think we had about $280,000 in loans from family and friends. I think it was around 8% back then, but that's when interest rates were much lower. I think interest rates then were 3-4%, so it was kind of plus 5% on the interest rate. And then the payback period was, there was like a year of no payments, and then it was over 36 months with 8% interest. And that would have been totally fine, because basically for us as a business, we only get paid in 90 days of 365 days a year. So we always need to raise in the fall to hire the team to realize that revenue next summer. So that's why I asked for a year before we had to start paying them. So that's how I did it. And I just invested in one of my friend's other do-gooder businesses, and that's how he structured it with me.
Did you ever have any pushback from investors that, or people who might have a problem with the 12-month?
Did you have any pushback from that on those terms, or the 12-month delayed payment?
Yeah, I think there were, it's a good point. I think it was 10% if I delayed it for a year and 8% if I started now.
So that was like your plan B would be?
Start now and have it be a little higher. Yeah. Yeah. And that, it would have worked minus COVID. It really
That
didn't
freaky
work.
thing
Yeah.
that happened. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very freaky. Okay, any other questions for Patrick? What's next for you?
Well, I'm going to go to Disneyland. No, I don't think I'd like going to Disneyland. I mean, no, I don't like being around big groups of people. So, I mean, we're at 1% nationally, so my goal is to get to 10%.
Yeah.
So that's 6 million kids. Right now, we serve 13. So in Oregon, we went from 4 school districts to 26 in 1 year. So we now serve 13% of the K-12 population. So my goal next year is 25% and then 50% the year after that. And then to get to 10% and about 50 million in revenue in the next 5 years for the business, and basically to beat all of our competitors. So when someone's out there looking for our curriculum, we become like the go-to.
Do you find podcasts that talk about how important sleep is annoying?
No, I mean, it's, why would I listen to them? No. No. Yeah.
Hey, this has been awesome. Thank
Cool.
you for joining
Thank
us,
you.
and thanks for sharing. But I have a gift for you.
Oh, cool.
We could put some sleepy time tea in it. It's a giant mug. You can bring this back to any future Pub Talk. We'll fill it with whatever you want. I'm sorry, Matt. And but yeah, this is our gift to you. So
Well,
thank you. It's our tradition. We've been doing
I
it for
really
I think like 20
appreciate it.
years.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And thank
thanks
you
for
all.
being
Appreciate
here.
it.
Am I still on? Okay. How about a little extra love for Patrick? That was awesome. Thank you. It's common we get people who are up here like, it's just, but they're never really telling us the true story. So I appreciate that so much. So thank you. It's helpful. So please join us for our upcoming EDCO events. The much anticipated, much attended, much beloved EDCO annual luncheon is back. It's February 8th, as John Stark mentioned. That's earlier than last year. So mark your calendars. Look for announcements soon. It will sell out. It always does. And our next Pub Talk isn't until 2024. I'm going to miss you guys. January 24th, we'll be back for Pub Talk. We'll be right here. So please join us for that. Thanks for coming tonight. I hope you have a great holiday season. Thank you for supporting entrepreneurship in Central Oregon. I'm Shannon Kelly. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you soon.